I want you to actually kind of set the stage for us and share a little bit about your own personal journey that led
Mhm.
you to actually writing this book.
Well, V, sister, it's so interesting because when I think back about those 3 years, but not just the 3 years, but what led to writing Reset, right? And writing her and providing those life nuggets, it was because during that season between 2016 and 2020, but while that's the time frame that that speaks the most volume to me. However, even prior to that, I wore all of these hats. You know how I am about my hats, sister girl. So I had a hat for a family reunion. My family, anytime they needed something, my whole name, Crystal Lynn, come on, we need you to help, whatever. Are you part of the committee? I served in the community. I actually served at a couple nonprofit shelters and at that time lived in the Metro Philadelphia area. So I served there. I was a mentor. I ran a small business, very active in my family, had to work somewhere, pay my bills. For those of you that are watching, you see all of these hats that I'm putting on. So I was an employee somewhere. I served as a staff pastor in a local church. I don't know about y'all, but I'm an oldest daughter, and that's a whole hat by itself. So if you're watching, you're seeing what led to my burnout is my mom or a parent, right? And then also a wife. And so that's just the hats that I wore physically, but mentally and emotionally, sis, I also wore hats as well. And they began to wear me down. I lost the sense of who I was. I lost my self-worth. I forgot what I was called to do. I just was so inundated with being a people pleaser and taking care of everybody else. I totally forgot I left Crystal behind. And so it literally started to feel that way. I felt if anybody asked me to do anything else, the water's right here under my nose, I'm going under. And it started April of 2020. I contracted COVID at the very beginning before they had um, the vaccines and things of that nature. And I realized that not only was I recovering from doing my recovering and healing process, but I was recovering from wearing all of these hats and had no idea how much of an effect not only did it have on me, but
Mhm.
it had on so many others. V. And we don't talk about burnout. We just kind of, as women, we put on our proverbials. I've been saying our proverbial Superman, Superwoman cape, and then I got it. And we have this mindset. We have convinced ourselves, me included, because a lot of it is really self-inflicted. If I don't do it, it ain't gonna get done right. And so we've kind of bought into this system or this mindset that nothing will be well unless I do it. Things won't go right unless I do it. I got to take care of everybody else, but who? I say, who is taking care of you?
Oh,
And so that's how we came to writing. And I realized that, and the Lord led me to see you're not the only one that's gone through this. People are going through, they're not talking about it. And so these 30 life nuggets in my book literally give you strategies to prevent and overcome burnout. And so I work with my clients, and even when I'm out coaching and teaching workshops and things of that nature, I have such a passion because I know what it did to me, right? It literally almost took me out. And so because of that, you can literally hear it. And in my mind, V, when I'm in sessions or workshops and people talk about the things they do, I say hat, hat. So I'm literally seeing all these hats and saying a hat, hat. Okay. And I'm adding, okay, you got about 20 hats you're wearing. Let's talk afterwards because I need to help you find that balance. And so I realized that going through this process was not just for me, which you and I both know as believers and women of God, usually what we go through is for someone else. And so
yes.
Reset was written to help others heal and overcome from burnout, to recognize it and acknowledge it. But and again, if the Lord rested, why shouldn't we? If
Mm.
He went time aside, why shouldn't we? And so we've got to get out of that mindset and do better. So yeah.
That visual of the hats, I know, if you are in the comments and she put on a hat that represented one of your hats, raise a hand, put it in the comments for me. Please don't let me sit here and I'm alone in this. She put on a couple of hats that I own. If you know she put on one of your hats, raise your hand, give me a little emoji in the comment section so that I know I am not by myself. And I feel like especially with the heart that I know you have, being able to have that level of accountability. Thank you, Esther. Thank you for
Mhm.
not letting me be by myself.
Yeah,
I
by
let,
yourself.
let, yes, yes, Esther. Thank you so much. Oh, yep. There's my Nancy. There's my Nancy.
Mhm,
Y'all
mhm,
got my
mhm,
backs.
mhm,
There's a level of accountability that I feel goes along with this. And
mhm,
you mentioned recognizing coming out of COVID, you were able to begin to recognize some of these things. What are some signs that people can begin to acknowledge for themselves or even be brave enough to have a conversation because they're seeing it in someone
mhm.
else? What are some signs of physical and emotional burnout? What does it look like?
You know what, it looks different on different people, but some of the signs I know for me, when you have accountability people and people that know you, like you or my spiritual mom said to me, love it with all my heart. She was like, "Oh, one Sunday at church, yeah, you cute, but you ugly inside. You jacked up
Oh,
inside." Like she literally saw through me, and I thought I was cute that day, right? But there were things like that. I have another friend that said, sis, one minute you good, the next minute you up, the next minute you down. Like, what's going on? So where there was those physicals, so I don't care how much, and I don't wear a lot of makeup anyway, but how cute I thought I was, there were people that actually saw that there were some things that were happening inside. And so it's one, and once they shared that with me, I had to get to a place because a lot of times we are afraid to admit where we really are and where we are not. And so when they begin to share that and say, my sister friend with the up and are you okay emotionally? Like what's really going on? And it was a blessing. I had to admit, you know what, God, she is right. My spiritual mom, yeah, you cute outside, but you ugly inside. You need to work on that. And so it was really understanding and looking at the symptoms that I had not given myself permission to just say no, right? To not try to take on everybody else, right? So some of those symptoms are just excessive work, right? Excessive overload, wearing too many hats, doing too many things, never taking a break, right? I'm gonna ask people that, if those of you that are on a computer, I know many of us work on a computer, but I hazard to say that most of us got about 10 tabs open. You can only work on one tab at a time. Mhm.
why are you in our
You can only
business?
work
I want to know, like,
you can
what?
only work on one tab at a time. Just one. And then we leave them open with the mindset, but you know what? I'm gonna come back to it tomorrow, and then it'll remind me of what I need to do. Well, if we didn't do it yesterday, it's not gonna get done today. So it's getting stuck. There's several like getting stuck in a rut, and that's kind of how I felt. I was going in this circle, for only focusing on the negative. And I am a positive person, V. And so for my mindset to instantly go to negative stuff, like and there were people, even my husband Daryl, like, you okay? Because that's not you. Setting unrealistic expectations again is another one. Like I can take care of everybody, I can do it, and you can't. Never taking a break. We don't know how to take a break. We just think I gotta keep going. And I said this morning, when I we were on the other show that I was on this morning, Pastor Washington, and we just newsy. So we think we gonna miss something. So we don't take a break. So we keep going and try to convince ourselves, I got it, it's gonna be okay. But your body eventually says, I need you to go sit down somewhere and get it together. So those are some of the many things and many signs, but and many of them I experienced going through that process. It wasn't funny then because I didn't know what it was. And, I didn't know if I was depressed or am I going through life change, through menopause, like what is it? And it was really getting in that space after going through therapy, doing my own research and understanding what is this. And I was just spent. I was totally burned out, totally
Mm.
exhausted. And it wasn't until I really started making some clear decisions and really being honest with Crystal about where she was and where she is not. And that's where things began to change.